going on, y'all? It's DJ NV Angelique Charlemagne. I'm just playing, y'all. I'm just I don't know. I'm trying to be silly. But what's going on, y'all? It's Dom here. Welcome to Screen Stack Studios. We're talking about the newest episode of The Penguin. We're actually going to talk about pretty much all the episodes, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to get into all of it. And I got a full panel with me. I got some great people with me. We're going to talk about it. And the first one up is my friend. We talked about House of the Dragon together. We go back and forth. So a lot of times we don't be at opposite ends of the spectrum, but it's always good conversations. My good friend, C the Superior. What's going on, C?
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. I've been dying to get on the show to talk about Penguin with y'all. So I'm very excited to be here. I got a lot of thoughts, a lot of theories I want to discuss with the panel. So let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And the next person to make this panel a fully functional panel is a great creator. He makes great content and he has incredible, perspectives on movies. And whenever one of his reviews drop is one of the first things I click on because he always has really insightful things to say about films. And it's the only person that could come after C is D, Movie Man. What's going on, D? How you doing?
I am doing good. Yes, that is very fitting. Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that. And this is definitely one that I was excited to discuss. I know we had a little bit of a we had to shift things a little bit last week, but yeah, I'm ready to discuss because just seeing the progression of this series has really been something.
Yeah, and for 3 episodes of a series to come out and it being this good it's like old school HBO. It's old school HBO, and like when the show drops, it's all eyes on the screen. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to be talking about it. And if you had known how long it took me to come up with that D after C joke, you would be ashamed. You would be ashamed at how much brain power I expended to come up with that intro. But it's all right. It's all right. We got it. But like D said, we didn't really get to, like, the group of us haven't talked about episode 1, 2, and 3, and D, like you said, we didn't get to talk about episode 2 last week. So just to start us off with the overall thoughts of the show, how are you feeling, D? How are you feeling with everything that's going on?
I'm feeling great. I think if I had any reservations, maybe in the beginning, as far as what we would see, because I told you already, anything, I don't know, like any pre-existing franchise, I am all here for the side stories. I think some people feel like, something isn't as interesting if Batman is in the mix. I mentioned Star Wars. If the Skywalkers aren't in the mix or if Vader isn't in the mix, then it doesn't matter. But personally, I just prefer seeing stories of people who operate within this world but aren't necessarily connected, in a sense, to this main overarching story. They do play a part, but it's like society, day-to-day society. And seeing from the perspective of this world of crime and the criminal underworld and all of that, I just find it really interesting. And even just from the perspective of power and now how we've created this power vacuum and how then everyone responds to that and how everyone is kind of clawing their way up to assume dominance. And then there's like this cat and mouse game. Like there are all these things happening at the same time. So for me, it's just the fact that we are exploring so many different facets from this perspective, and as someone who grew up seeing the Penguin in a very different depiction with Danny DeVito, I think seeing the greater understanding of how that character operates and what he means as far as Gotham and that universe has been really enjoyable. And so with that being said, I'm really enjoying the take thus far, and I just like how this is so far keeping me guessing and keeping me on my toes for the most part.
And I agree with you. To me, that's one of the great parts about a reinterpretation is you can understand who the character is, but you can't really guess where we're going to go with it. And so that's, like I said, I love a good prequel like you do, and I love a good side story. And you can have really high highs and really low lows with any type of storytelling, because with Star Wars, Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but also Solo, Star Wars movie, is not so much. And so, you just gotta, with anything, you need good storytelling. If you got good storytelling, then you can really go wherever. See, how have you felt about the series so far?
Okay, so first, before the series began, I was a little hesitant, right? Because though I did enjoy the Penguin in the Batman movie, I always felt I have like Sony Universe kind of PTSD because I was like, okay, if they're going to take the villains and make it into this whole thing, are they really going to do it good? Like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be interesting? Is the Penguin going to remain a villain? Because I feel like that's very important because Batman's rogue gallery is so iconic. And if we somehow make him into like this anti-hero type of situation, I didn't feel like it would be as interesting to me. But since the first episode, we get to see the Penguin. He's very multifaceted, right? We can kind of sympathize with him and empathize with him, but he remains a villain, right? We even from, so far from every episode, he does these things that you feel, okay, you can kind of start to feel like, okay, maybe he's not so bad of a guy. And then next thing you know, he's back on his villain type time. And I really enjoy that about this show. The performances are great. Colin Farrell, I didn't know he was such an actor since the episode. Yes, he really like got into this role, this Irish man. You wouldn't even have guessed. So I loved his performance. I love the performance from Victor, Sophia, Chef's Kiss. I want more. I want to see more about Sophia. Based off of the upcoming trailer for episode 4, which seems like we may get a little bit more backstory about her. But I'm excited for that. But overall, I'm really enjoying this series, and I feel as if a lot of people are, which is maybe the reason behind the move from Thursday to Sunday, because Sundays on HBO are iconic, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm enjoying the ride so far.
That's what's up. That's what, and I'm glad you said something about keeping Penguin the villain, keeping the villains the villain, even though they're the main character. Let's make sure that they are the villain. And I'm glad you said something about Sophia, because Sophia's a brand new character that the show introduces. Like, she's from the comics, but this is the first time we're getting introduced to her, and she is such an interesting character to me. And so, before we get into the more of the review and discussion, I just want to give a little recap just to make sure we're all refreshed on how great Sophia is.
Bullshit, Sophia.
4 hours ago, the Maronis hijacked the Falcone transport heading for Robbinsville. I need to know how they came to have that information.
There is a traitor in this family, and I brought you someone who can give us an actual fucking answer.
You seem to know everybody's business in town. So now's your time to shine, Oz. Find me a distributor and we'll paint the town red.
It's a very powerful drug. And whoever controls it will control the future of the drug trade in Gotham.
This should be fun.
All right, so Sophia. I love Sophia. She's such an interesting character. And like I said, we didn't get to talk about the last week, but we found out that she's going to therapy. We found out that after she got out of Arkham, she's seeing this therapist. And he wasn't in this most recent episode, but I wanted to ask everybody how they feel about this character, who is played by Theo Rossi, who's from Sons of Anarchy, and he was in Luke Cage. How they feel about this character and where they see this dynamic in this character going. Like, how do you feel about the Dr. Cheeks over here?
See, when I see Theo Rossi, all I think of is Shades, and Shades was a shady character. So I don't pigeonhole actors, so I won't say that. Like, he could be a completely different character here. However, and I understand, even as far as therapy and the type of patient Sophia is, and who is carrying a whole lot of things we haven't even begun to unpack yet. However, let me just say that I just felt that the physicality after a certain point, particularly with this shot here, I was just kind of like, is this are we are we stepping over some moral boundaries here? I feel like there's I don't know. I honestly for a brief second I was kind of holding my breath because I was just like, how is this moment about to end? I was just like, this does not seem like a patient therapist situation. It feels like it's spilling over into something else. And it didn't, but there was just something very intimate about the moment. And I was thrown by that. And that also makes me wonder what the doctor, like what else is going on with the doctor, and who set this all up in the first place? Is this voluntary therapy on Sophia's end, or is this something that someone has manufactured? Is he more aware of certain things about her than she knows? So yeah, I thought it was a really interesting scene, but I was very stuck on the optics of everything.
Mm-hmm. See, how about you? How do you feel about Sophia and her therapist?
This man need to lose his license. He needs to be under investigation right along with P. Diddy next on the list, because this can't be right. It doesn't even look consensual at this point. It's like, is he forcing himself on her? Is he like, it was a very weird situation and I didn't like it. And I didn't know who this character was. So I looked him up. I was like, who the heck is this predator, right? And apparently it seems as if he's like unique to the show. And he may be kind of like a spin-off, a separate character by the name of Dr. Hugo Strange.
Mm-hmm.
But this Dr. Rush isn't someone that has been seen before in Batman. But very weird, very strange. And it made me feel bad for Sophia because although I love Sophia, I don't like Sophia, but I sympathize with her here because it's like, who is this? Why is this man touching her this way? Why is it? And she clearly seemed incapacitated in a way. And it made me wonder about her history even more, because later in the episode, we see that she doesn't want to be like frisked or touched. And I'm like, was she abused? Or it's like, oh, my mind is going all over the place with this. But he definitely is very weird, very strange, needs to lose his license.
And that's what he definitely does, if he even has a license. Who knows who this man is?
Right.
And that's the downside. We were talking about the upside of adapting characters and coming from a different angle, because you could do so much with them. But that's, to me, also kind of the downside, is if you give certain characters a name, like if you call him Hugo Strange or if you call him something recognizable, then you already kind of know where this is going. So sometimes you kind of have to create characters or manipulate characters so you can maintain suspense and reveal. And one thing that I want to talk about is, if you are any type of familiar with the Batman fandom or the lore of Batman, you realize that Batman has a lot of villains. But you might be forgiven for forgetting that Batman has like the most educated villains ever. Like, Batman fights a lot of doctors. Mr. Freeze is a doctor of cryogenics. The Riddler is a neuroscientist. Man Bat is a geneticist. So he fights a lot of doctors. So I want to play a game. And the game is actually called Who's Your Therapist? And I want you to tell me, I'm going to give you 3 psychiatrists. They are psychology doctorate holding members of the Gotham community, and you're going to therapy, and you have to decide whose couch you are going to lay on. And so these are the candidates. The first candidate, you already kind of mentioned him, is Dr. Hugo Strange. And Dr. Hugo Strange, now has been the head of Arkham Asylum. He's worked with a large group of patients, so he's very experienced with whatever psychosis you might be dealing with. But he does have a tendency to hypnotize his people and have them commit crimes and take over the city. So that is something you might have to worry about. The next contender is Dr. Jonathan Crane. Some people call him the Scarecrow, but he's got years of psychology experience. They do kind of attribute him to be a little bit obsessive, but he encourages patients to face their fears. Now, that might be in the most traumatic sense, and you might face your fears off of a cliff, but you will face those fears. And last but not least is the Harleen Quinzel, Dr. Harleen Quinzel. She has been an employee and a patient of Arkham Asylum. She's worked with some of the most difficult cases, so she's very experienced. Now, she might amplify your psychosis and take you on a killing spree throughout the city. But that's, you know how medications have some side effects. That's like you take an antidepressant and you might be more depressed. She might heal your psychosis or she might amplify it. That's kind of the risk you take with Medicaid. So I'm gonna come to you first. Which therapist, which person are you taking to treat you?
I am taking my BPD queen, my borderline personality disorder empress, Harley Quinn, because I feel like even if she does convince me to do something bad, I feel like it will still be kind of, within my, she's just feeding into my delusion, and I'm here for it. We can be delusional together, right? But the other one seemed like it's more by force. So I'm going with Harley.
No, yeah, Harley would definitely. It'll be a fun time if you with Harley, you're definitely gonna have a good time, and then you'll get locked up. But it'll be a good time all the way there. D, whose couch are you sitting on?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of obvious. I was just like, listen, like if I'm going to take a walk on the wild side, then why not do it with Harleen? I just think that, like, my thing is, I mean, and the choices in theory are not ideal, but like I said, I've seen Harley in action in various ways, and if nothing else, I think I'll laugh, I'll be entertained, I'll get an adrenaline rush and all that, and then it's like, okay, now I got to face reality, but at least I can face reality having had a rush, a thrill ride, so to speak.
Amen.
That's true. And Harley is probably the only one that doesn't have her own agenda. Like, these other people are going to have you do something that they want you to do. Harley's just like, whatever you say goes, however far it wants to go.
Is this the Joker's Harley Quinn, or is this, Suicide Squad Harley Quinn?
No. This is not Margot Robbie Harley Quinn. This is
Lady Gaga.
No, definitely not. This is Batman the Animated Series, black and red jumpsuit doing cartwheels, gymnast Harley Quinn. This is Harley. This is Dr. Harleen Quinzel. That's what we're dealing with. Because if it's Margot Robbie Harley Quinn, that's just a good time. I don't really think she's gonna give me a real diagnosis. I just gonna have a good time. Okay, so that was the first game. I got another game later on, but we're gonna talk about a little bit more of Sophia. I want to talk a little bit more of Sophia and get into the actual episodes of the plot and what was going on. And so Sophia, and we can talk about all the episodes and just go over the arc because we kind of got 1, 2, 3 episodes to deal with. And Sophia specifically, I want to talk about her as a character in the sense of like what she's dealing with in relation to or in opposition to what Oz is dealing with, because Oz is very much a rags to riches story. He's very much an ambitious story, while Sophia is almost more like a birthright story. She's trying to get what she's owed, what she's trying to reclaim her family name, and she's trying to get what she believes she deserves. And so, Dee, how do you feel about Sophia, like up until this point, and then in this third episode, how we see her reveal, like her plan is revealed. We see how this is really more her plan than her brother's plan, and the lengths she's willing to go to. How do you feel about Sophia and her arc so far?
Yeah, I enjoy Sophia. This is gonna sound bad, but it's just like I enjoy a character who isn't all the way there, and maybe it's because maybe it's because I relate to that just a little bit, but I also like the fact that we are seeing dimension to Sophia as a character. It's not just the fact that because even when it comes to Gotham and it comes to villains, or I mean the villains in general, it's always interesting when you can delve into their mindset or their ideology and not necessarily compromise the fact that they are very well, as we said earlier, they are villains or villainous or villain adjacent, if you will. So I think just what we see as far as her demeanor, and even like what it means to have, and we haven't gotten into the thick of what Oz has caused to happen. I mean, we kind of know, but we don't fully know the ins and outs, like the specific details. But also understanding like she's not really respected in this world. She comes home and like her opinions, her being the heir to the throne, so to speak, none of that is value. None of that is it's just not even a question. And how she's handled, even in this third episode, and the things that are basically that she's having to be subjected to, even at this stage of the game. I just find her just to be a character who is obviously determined and motivated, but I just think that twisted, darker side of her, and the fact that, and even, oh my gosh, even like I already knew I was in for something. Like we discussed it last time, but when Oz is kind of just running off at the mouth, and he thinks he hasn't made, and he's presenting this, this offer on the table, and I can run this, and she just slides slowly into view, and she has his card. She's able to pull his card from the very beginning, and she really has it all figured out. Oz just manages to finagle something at the very, very end, but how she's willing to like cap one in the kid's head, how she's willing to lop this man's entire, shoulder, arm off. Like, she is uncompromising. And I find that disturbing, but I also find it entertaining and refreshing at the same time. So, and even the plan with Bliss and all that, just seeing how forward thinking she is, and just how much deeper it goes than just her being a quote unquote crazy character. I like seeing the layers to her, especially as we continue.
No, definitely. She definitely is very layered. And it's like you said, she's a very sympathetic character, but she's also incredibly unhinged. And I feel like we haven't seen the depths of her dysfunction. Yeah, I feel like they're laying the groundwork of making her very sympathetic before we see like the hangman aspect of her, because we see her relationship with her family, and like it's almost like the more they isolate her, the more ruthless she becomes, because they keep pushing her to the side, and then she keeps like ramping up how rebellious and how intense she will go against them. And see, when we see Sophia in this episode, we see it's like, I love it when a plan comes together. We see that she has a workshop. She's got everything really up in motion. She only needs eyes for distribution. She's got all the other pieces in play. How did you feel about Sophia when you first saw her in episode 1? And then how have you, enjoyed or responded to her ascension and her progression up until this point?
So with Sophia, I find her very interesting. For one, I love Sophia as a character, but I don't like Sophia. I'm coming to realize she, much like Oz, is kind of trying to prove herself in a way, right? And kind of establish herself within this family, the Falcones. And that part of her makes her very relatable. It's like, okay, she's a woman in this arena of men trying to assert her dominance in a way. But then there's this part of Sophia that is an elitist, right? She's looking at Oz like, you're not a made man. You're just my driver. No one's here to see you. You're here to see me. And it's like, it's
ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis.
Right, exactly. I'm the one selling records.
They coming to see me.
And quiet as it's kept, she needs Oz. He's the one who came up with the name for the drug. He's the one who got her the distributor. He's the one, like, he's really high key, integral part in this plan of hers. So it's like I have multiple feelings when it comes to Sophia and her background of being the hangman, if you will. I don't even know if that's because they're kind of like implying in episode 3 that she's not that. Like, she's saying, I'm not the hangman. So I'm like, was she scapegoated by her family because she's a woman and not as important as whoever the hangman really was? And maybe they blamed it on her mental illness that she has. And I don't know. It's like all of she's very interesting as a character, but if I were to meet her in person, I would not like her as a person, I'm sure.
And that's funny because I I like Sophia. I mean, just she's a little bit elitist and she's a little dismissive and disrespectful, but at the same time, like she's got this chip on her shoulder where it's like I'm not going to take anybody's BS. I am going to be my own person and I'm going to stand in my spot. And I can respect that.
She said the N-word. She definitely said the N-word for sure. Sophia is an N-word user.
No,
regularly.
Yeah. With no, and it's hard too. You flinch when you say like, good grief. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about that. Oz does it.
Yeah, I don't get. Yeah, he definitely.
No,
he down for the cause.
Yeah, he down. He down for the cause. I like the fact that when we talk about the different characters, to me, Sophia is such a polarizing character because she has this reputation and her reputation precedes her. But yeah, when we get to these quiet moments or we actually follow her, it's almost like, is this the person that we've been told it is? And I feel like you kind of talked about, maybe when we get a flashback or we get some more depth into what this rift between her and Oz was and what he actually turned her in for. Did she kill these 7 women, or did she kill one woman and they put all 7 on her? Like, well, like what is or is she about to go against her father and her father was just like, nah, I'm put you over here because you're not gonna come for me. Like, I want to know what, like, I know it's coming. We're gonna get a flashback that's going to detail this, and I'm so curious how that's going to kind of like recontextualize her, because it could be that she's not crazy, like, or she wasn't crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely crazy. I don't know. She definitely got
no. She crazy now. I'm just saying that it could be, if you put somebody in an asylum for 10 years, they're not gonna come out saying, what I'm saying? They could be saying going in, they're not gonna be saying coming out. It's almost like Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor, after the first movie, she was in an insane asylum, and she came out, she was a little loopy, but she was telling the truth. Like, she wasn't crazy. She just was telling too many people that she saw the future.
If we going into theories, I get the vibe that maybe Oz, he didn't rat her out. I feel like maybe he was aware that the family was going to pin this hangman thing on her, and he didn't warn her as her, driver and maybe confidant, and she feels betrayed by that. But I don't know if he actually had a hand in, like, turning her in kind of way, but maybe he was aware, but I don't know. I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, and I'm curious because she did something, because she talks about him turning her in, so she was doing something for him to like rat on her. And so I think she might have been like whatever. I think she was maybe making a move, and Penguin was like, "This is going to get you killed, so I'm going to like tell on you, or I'm gonna do something so you don't get killed, you just get banished." You know what I'm saying? So the punishment is less. I think that might be a plausible way to go. So but it's interesting because Penguin, if we're gonna transition, is not a good person. Like, I love Oz. He is a great character. I'll put him right up there with some of my favorite gangsters already. And this show is a good way of showing him as not a good person, but also a very likable person. Like, he's a great character. I enjoy watching him. And if I was Vic, I don't know if I got on the bus. I don't know if I would have got on the bus if I was Vic. I mean, it's a cute girl. It's a cute girl, and California is nice. But he just put $1,000 in my pocket every week. And is Vic still in high school? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I believe. But now that we see Sophia's operation and we go, the episode 3 opens with, if we switch from Sophia to Vic, we open up with Vic, and we open up with his backstory of like the very end of the Batman movie, and we see him in Crown Point, and we see him and his family, and we see what happens, as the seawalls break, and he has to watch, like, essentially his family die. And now we see why he gives those longing looks to the missing posters, and why. And it seems like his stutter is amplified by stress. Like, when he's talking to his family or he's talking to his girlfriend, it's still there, but it's a little bit more slight. it's like when he's anxious or when he's stressed, it's more pronounced, and which I think is telling, which I think is going to be like a telltale sign of his character later on when he like kind of gets full of himself. I think that stutter's going to evaporate by the end of this season. I think he won't have a stutter. He's just going to be Vic. But how did you feel about getting this side of Vic D? And how did you feel about, how did that inform how you felt about this character?
I mean, one thing I can definitely say about Vic, and I could kind of tell that, I mean, I wasn't sure where the direction was going to go, but I can definitely tell even before getting fully into the backstory in this opening scene is that he's definitely the heart of the series, and he kind of represents the, I would say, if you will, he kind of represents the moral quandary. In because the thing is, one could say and argue, and it might be debatable, but even though Gotham City is full of villains, Gotham itself is almost like a villain. It's like this massive, this place that is just full of darkness and corruption, and just like to even be a part of the city in itself is to invite yourself to something really horrible. Whether you're at the at the top of the food chain or at the bottom, it's just that it's not a good situation to be in. And so I always felt that Vic is kind of the person who is caught in that central battle of what Gotham is, what lies at the heart of it as a city, and like what it's built upon, and then all these residents and people who are kind of caught in the middle of that. And now with the situation that has now happened, he's trying, even when we see him, he's trying to just scrounge around for something so that he can survive at this point. And I think bringing it back here, we see it goes even deeper. I mean, you can, and I'm sure there are kids or there are young adults there, there are people like that in multiple cities all across, I mean, really across the world. But honestly, for a second, I guess because I don't know, for whatever reason, when it opened up, I had kind of forgotten about everything else. And so seeing him with his family was just kind of like, oh, of course. Like, yeah, like I almost like, and then I don't know, it suddenly clicked. And actually, I'm kind of glad it happened that way, because it really brought it home, the emotions and the intensity. And also, of course, we see it from a different vantage point watching the Batman, but I like how it brings it to, I like how it kind of brings us, how do I say it? Basically, like that's an interesting scene in the film, but I like how we get beyond, like there's a certain vantage point we have there, whereas here we see it from the vantage point of the people in the city. Like, how was this actually affect? Like, we see it beyond just Batman trying to stop the Riddler. Like, what are the reverberating effects of this, and how did this how did this not only obliterate the city, but also like affect people on a financial, emotional, physical, like in all these different levels. So yes, that was a great way to open, but it was a tough one to watch, definitely.
Yeah, and it was really good. Like you said, it was really good that they didn't open the series like this. Like, I'm glad this wasn't like episode 1. For us to get a little bit farther removed from the end of Batman, for us to get to see Vic in one light, and then go back to be like, this is the moment that everything changed, I thought was really impactful. Because yeah, I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is Vic back. Because at first when the show started, he's just walking down the street. I'm like, okay, he's going down to Oz. And then you see he goes home, and it was like, oh, this is his family. And then when he was going to watch the fireworks, I didn't realize that, because it's been a minute since I've seen Batman, and I wasn't really thinking about it in that context, so I wasn't remembering that when he was like, he's going to watch the fireworks for the election. I'm like, yeah, let's go watch the fireworks for the election. And then when boom, I was like, oh man, and it was very heart wrenching that you see the shadow of like his mother in the window, and then the water goes in. It's very powerful, and yeah, the different vantage point of, we see a lot of superhero movies where it's like, all right, we saved the day, but what about the people? Because even the people who survived are not the same, and they are not okay. And seeing a ground level version of that, or vantage point of that, it was even better. And it's hard for me to say anything's better than anything that had to do with Man of Steel, because I love Man of Steel. It's one of my favorite movies ever. But when we got to Batman v Superman and we saw that Man of Steel fight from Bruce Wayne's perspective, and he was on the ground, and we saw like the human cost of that, that was very impactful, and it was very 9/11y. And this one was, to me, just as impactful, if not more. It was very like Katrina. It was very Katrina. I think even like when Batman's at the stadium, it almost looked like the Superdome from New Orleans. So it was very Katrina inspired, and I think it was just as impactful when you see like the bodies under the water. See, when we meet Vic, and we meet happy-go-lucky Vic and barely stuttering Vic, and he's got a cute little girlfriend, he's got a very nice family, and he's talking to his dad, and we see how with the conversation he has with his dad in the beginning kind of echoes the conversation he has with Oz at the end, and he's kind of conflicted with wanting more but not wanting to leave. How did you feel about this version of Vic, and when we got this introduction to pre-crisis Vic?
I love me some Vic, man. Vic, you know, a Dominicano king, a Keloke king. We love to see it. But like you guys were saying, I'm glad that this wasn't our introduction to Vic. As far as the episodes go, episode 1, no notes, perfect, right? Episode 2, I enjoyed. Episode 3 brought me to tears, right? So Vic, man, I just felt so bad for him, man. And like from the beginning, it didn't even dawn on me that this was like in the past, right? When we were getting him walking to his family, like, okay, yeah, he's just going home. He finally got a break from work. He going
Right.
So then when the bombs started going off, I was like, oh, it didn't even dawn on me, guys, until the floodgates opened up. Like, oh, this is the flashback. And I actually went back Saturday night and rewatched the Batman. And this show takes place like weeks after that. So he literally just lost his whole family, just lost everything that he knows. And it's so fresh, right? And it didn't dawn on me until after going back to watch Batman that, oh, he really just lost his family, like just recently. But when we see his interaction with his dad, and pretty much the last thing he says to his dad is, don't you want more than this? I was like, damn, you know, that's the last thing you get to say to your father. And realizing how when he does, you know, get himself into the underbelly of Gotham, you know, working for the mafia and all of that. And he's kind of struggling with it, if this is something that he can continue doing. Because at first it was like, oh, he's held hostage. There's nothing he can do, right? The Penguin got him. He's just an unwilling participant. But by the end of the episode, you know, he chose it, right? He can't even fall back on this is not even what I want to do. I'm just here because I'm forced to. And I just felt so bad. A part of me wanted him to get on that bus, right? But the other part of me was like, he about to drag that girl down if he get on that bus. Let that girl be free. Let that girl go and live in her potential. Because at this point, he's in the life, right? He's there. He's making $1,000 a week. That's good money for like a young man, right? So I feel as if he would have gotten on the bus, it wouldn't have worked out either way. So I'm like, it's just so sad. But I love Vic. I love Vic as a character.
No, I absolutely love Vic, and I got a couple more questions about Vic, but I also got another game, and because D, I don't know if you watch D. Do you watch Agatha All Along?
I haven't started it yet. I've heard good things though.
Okay. With this game, then you're just gonna have to guess. You're gonna have to guess because I know that C watches and does a very good after show about Agatha All Along. And these shows coming out, Agatha All Along and the Penguin coming out kind of simultaneously. They are both villains, and they both take like an ethnically ambiguous sidekick under their wing. And so because of that, my game is, which one would you be? Because you got a villain that's kind of almost reluctantly taking you under their wing. They're putting you in danger all the time, and you have to choose which one to work for. So I'll start with C since she's the expert in both.
Okay.
But C, would you rather be the teen who is following Agatha Harkness around? Now, mind you, Agatha Harkness, as we know to this day, I know it's a TV show and we know it's going to be a redemption coming down, but we don't know that because we the teen. And so you got to be with Agatha Harkness, who religiously and continuously sacrifices people for her own gain, or you can be Vic, who runs around with a penguin who's trying to take over the city and instigate a gang war and routinely has you dumping bodies and severing bodies and puts you in all these dangerous situations. Who would you mentor under, Teen or Vic?
See, okay, so I feel like this is the harder version of the question because I was assuming that you were coming in thinking, asking who would I choose as my apprentice? And if that was the question, it would be clearly Teen at this point because Teen is eager to learn. He is in it.
He'd
Right?
done his homework.
Yeah, exactly. He's
Yeah.
prepared, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to be in their shoes, who would I rather mentor under, Agatha or Penguin? After watching this episode, I'm going to say Agatha because Agatha seems as if she has the best intentions for Teen, right? Even, we saw in the last episode, not to spoil anything, but he was in a situation where he could have died and she seemed very distressed and was willing to, do things in order to get him out of that situation. Whereas the Penguin, though he does seem as if he's taken Vic under his wing and is very sincere about it, there was also a scene where it felt like he was sincere with Sophia, right? When he was saying, I regret the things that I did. He was tearing up to the point that I was thinking, if he could do this for Sophia, he could do this for Vic. He could put on that same show. So I'm kind of unsure about his allegiances in a way. I feel like he could turn on Vic the same way he turned on Sophia. So I would be Teen because I feel like Teen is safer with Agatha than Vic is with the Penguin.
Okay, that's a well-reasoned response. That is a well-reasoned response. D, I know you haven't watched Agatha, but just based off what you know, and if you watch WandaVision, she's the same character. There's not that much more that we've learned about her since WandaVision. So, who would you rather apprentice under, Penguin or Agatha Harkness?
So this is an arguably weak rationale, but I just feel like my experiences with witchcraft or some variation of witchcraft in the mix, just what I might be subjected to versus having mortal adversaries. And don't get me wrong, guns are not my jam, and that's not necessarily the world I would want to roll in. But I just feel like once we start getting into like dark holds and curses and powers and abilities, it's just like I feel like things could potentially go a whole lot worse for me if I'm not careful. So I would probably have to go with Vic in this standpoint. Although I'm sure the things visually you would see hanging out with Agatha would definitely be something very, very different.
No, definitely, yeah. And that's the thing. When I was coming up with this kind of back and forth, this or that, I was leaning towards. I'm a supernatural fan. I love anything that's sci-fi, fantasy, supernatural, magic. So just the things I would get to see following Agatha Harkness would be amazing. But also I am not so young, but I am a black man from underperforming city. And so the lessons that Oz imparts upon Vic to me are more useful. And I think that's where it came down and why I pick Oz, because at the end of the road, I don't know that Teen is going to learn anything that he can take when he leaves Agatha, except for like the power of family and sisterhood. Like he'll learn that, but useful stuff, I don't know that he'll learn anything. The stuff that Vic is learning, even though they're harsh lessons, even though Oz is a very harsh teacher, the streets is hard. So like the scene, I think at the end of episode 2, when Oz makes Vic lay on the bodies and he's yelling at him, he's lecturing at him. This was a very gruesome scene, and in real life, this would be horrible. Nobody should ever have to be subjected to this. But at the same time, if you're going to be a criminal, you need to understand that there is no redo. There is no makeup test. There is no I was late for work, but can I get a extension? There's none of that. You get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow, because opportunity knocks once in a lifetime. So and so if somebody is putting as a high schooler, if somebody's putting $1,000 in my pocket and telling me to drive them around and is imparting to me, all I gotta do is watch and listen. And the scene when they in episode 3, when they were at the restaurant, and Vic and Oz is telling him that America's a hustle. Like, your dad should have had a happy ending, but America's not built like that. That resonated with me. Obviously, I'm not a gangster and I have no ambitions of a gangster, but at the same time, the sentiment resonated with me. And then that whole conversation was just us shooting the breeze because we got something to do over here, because we still plotting and we still doing gangster stuff. I just like that for life lessons. I'm always going to vote for life lessons, and I think Vic can get better life lessons, or more practical life lessons than Teen, because I don't even know if he'll ever get to actually practice magic. And so that's why I'm gonna pick Vic, because I'm Team Vic. But picking Teen is not a bad choice at all either.
I can see that. I'm down with that.
But we'll see, and we'll revisit this when both of these shows get to the end. We'll revisit it and see if I'll see if I still would pick Vic over Teen, because who knows, Teen, we might get to the end of Agatha all along, and Teen is the Sorcerer Supreme or something like that. So who knows? But moving on is in episode 3, we see kind of the master plan come together. We see almost all of the pieces they need come together, because Sophia already had the product. We got it from I was gonna say Harlem. We got it from Arkham. And it's this drug that they gave the inmates of Arkham to like make them more submissive and docile. And I wanted to ask, and this might be, I was going to save like theories for the end, but forget it. Because this because we got a psychedelic drug. We got a drug that makes people submissive. And we also have a therapist who uses hypnotism. And then we also got Arkham Asylum. Who's the one prescribing this at Arkham Asylum? Do we think that this drug is going to be used for like nefarious reasons? Is this going to be a mind control drug? Is this going to lead to the introduction of maybe a scarecrow or somebody else who is going to like be on the rise to take over or cause chaos in Gotham? See, you about to pop out your seat, so I'm going to you first.
I was waiting for you to say it, because as soon as I saw it, I was thinking, hold on, we got mushrooms, we got botany. Is this like a little soft intro to Poison Ivy? Like, what's going on here? She's a doctor, right? She knows how to put things together, right? I'm thinking it could be. I'm hoping that we get a grounded introduction to Poison Ivy. I would love to see it. But with the doctor that we have, Dr. Rush, Dr. P. Diddy over here, I don't know. He was probably using it for nefarious reasons. I wouldn't put it past him at this point. But I feel as if I'm hoping that we get a Poison Ivy, because I would love to see her on screen in a more grounded version. I would like to see how they do this, because they do seem in this iteration, Matt Reeves' version of Batman, he does take these characters, but he makes them more realistic. Like even with the Penguin, he's like very grounded. He's very, mafia-esque. He's from the projects for real. And that's not the version of the Penguin that we usually see. So I'm hoping that it's an introduction for Poison Ivy.
No, and it's just funny because we got plants, like you said, and I did not even consider Poison Ivy because it came from Arkham. I immediately went to Scarecrow. But Poison Ivy is a good pick. She might be, she's a botanist. She's an eco-terrorist, but who knows? She might be developing something at Arkham. Um,
Because even with the flood, like there's got to be some kind of issues with, you know, the environment that she's concerned about. I'm hoping that they try to like, you know, shoehorn her in here somewhere.
no, yeah, a grounded eco-terrorist Poison Ivy would be amazing. And then having somebody, and I don't know if Sophia is going to make it out of this show. I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. But to have somebody like Sophia Falcone and to have like a Matt Reeves version of Poison Ivy, to have two like femme fatales in the same universe would be very interesting. D, how did you feel about the mushrooms and the hypnotism? Do you think that leads to anything that's going to combine? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, once my stomach stopped lurching just from the visual disgust from actually seeing the plant, I kind of figured that there definitely is going to be a much bigger plan that's going on. And just because I think with I feel like this is a very obvious quote to use, but in a cliche one, but still, I think it applies when they say that big things have small beginnings. And there are things that can have like a domino effect or a snowball effect. And so we start, yes, Kay, exactly. And the thing is, this one wasn't as bad, the whole trypophobia thing. I've seen there are other things that trigger it worse, but it still was a little, okay, that's unpleasant. But no, I do think there are things that have a snowball effect. Like we start off like, oh, you know, people can just have a drug and people just want to escape. And actually did like what they said about the fact that all these things are going on. And when it comes down to it, and a lot of those things I didn't understand when I was younger, when it comes to vices, like a lot of those things are coded as being, you know, good, bad, in between, whatever, in a certain type of way. But then when you understand more about life and people's experiences and what they are really trying to escape from, their connection to those things, like it makes a whole lot more sense. And so even how that was explained, I thought was really interesting. But I think it's going to be one of those things where because we're seeing so many consequences of the flood and the explosion, all these things that have happened. I think it's going to, at least to start, I'm sure it's going to take a minute before we get to the end game, but I just think it's going to create this scenario where people become really, really reliant on that. And as that dependency continues on and increases, I think whoever's big game plan, they'll now have an entire society of people that are attached to it almost permanently, because then who knows? And I'm also curious, like, what is the withdrawal? Like, if people decide, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, then what's going to happen? So yeah, I think it's definitely going to have just definitely much bigger consequences, but they won't be seen until much further on.
Yeah, that's true. And I wonder, because they keep emphasizing that it's a different type of high than like the people that take the drops and stuff like that. And so well, I'm curious if it's not just submissiveness, but like suggestive. If people are more suggestive and more influenced on bliss, and which I don't care about Sophia Side Eye. That's a great name for a drug. I want some bliss. That was a great name for a drug, especially if on TV, because TV has you always got new drugs on TV shows, and they always have these really inventive names. And I feel like Bliss was just a good one.
Exactly, the marketability is there. You know, it's a party drug.
Yeah, it's a party drug, and whatever else we use it for. Then, but to market it as a part, this Blue Magic, it's a brand name, like Pepsi. It's
not Blue Magic, like the hair grease.
Oh my gosh!
The hair grease.
That is throwback,
man. But that was a throw, Jesus. But with the bliss, with the red magic, we got we see kind of the first time we see Sophia and Penguin working together as a team. And not only are they blackmailing Johnny Vitti to help them broker this deal with the triads. And we see like the Sophia doesn't really trust Oz. And I was curious about that with the last episode when she called them and she was like they want to work together. I was like, this is like the devil, because she knows she can't trust anybody else in her family. So Oz at least seems like he wants to help, and she knows that she trusts him enough to know that I think she's trusting more his ambition than she actually trusts him. And I think we get kind of echoes of that in this episode when he's like kind of talking and moving in front of her, and she's like, actually they're here to see me, and you make sure that you remember is you just my ex-driver. Even when she shows up to his crib and was like, no, Vic, you stay at home, he's gonna drive me like old times. Like she seems to like continually be trying to put him in his place.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if the end of the episode, because they do work together when they bust into that man's room and they were playing off each other, they got good chemistry, they work together, they play their part well. But I'm wondering if the end of this episode and that sob story that Penguin gave her, if it changed how she felt. Like, did she start genuinely trusting him, or did she like see through his BS? What do you think, Steve?
Sophia's a naturally suspicious person. Like even from, episode from the beginning, she's been very suspicious of everyone. She doesn't trust anyone but her brother, RIP, it seems. But I feel as if given their dynamics in the episode, how he has been, very useful to her, in her, thinking that she could possibly learn to trust him, right? She doesn't trust him 100%. But I do feel as if she thinks that he isn't as maybe nefarious as she originally thought, being that in episode 2, they found the leak, who they believe to be the one who was facilitating all the information to the Malcolms, or whatever, not the Malcolms, the
Maronis.
The Maronis, yeah.
Yeah.
So I do feel as if she may want to trust him, and she was leaning towards trusting him. But as we see, he can't be trusted. He's an actor. That's why I feel bad for Vic. Like, this is why I worry for Vic's safety, because if he can act like that towards Sophia, who is someone he's worked for and with for some time, right? He can do that to Vic. They're from the same place. They have, very similar backstories, being from Crown Point or whatever. And also when we find out that, he was originally her driver and Vic is coming in as his driver, there's definitely that, parallel there. But I'm concerned. And I feel like Sophia is right for not trusting him. She doesn't trust him all the way.
And see, I thought that I'm an optimist. Let's say that I'm an optimist. I think that Oz definitely like genuinely likes and cares about Vic. I think he sees a lot of himself in Vic. I think D, we talked about it the last time when they got on the train, and like how Oz doesn't like to see himself as disabled, and I think he sees that with Vic and his stuttering, and then we saw that in this episode with the waiter. He's like trying to instill the confidence that he had to learn in Vic. I feel like he sees a kindred spirit in Vic, and the difference between Vic and Sophia for Oz is that Vic doesn't have anything that Oz needs. Like Oz, like Vic doesn't. There's nothing to gain from tricking Vic. He could have a driver. He could pay somebody else $1,000 a week to be his driver, and to bury bodies. Any of the Falcone henchmen could do that. And so I think that, and then he's letting Vic. I didn't realize till this episode that Vic was staying at his house. I didn't realize that Vic was staying there. And so I'm like, that's a level of vulnerability that I don't think that, because every time we see Oz doesn't fraternize with anybody. Like even when in the last episode when he brought the homies over, it was just to like ingratiate himself, to make himself look good. Like, oh yeah, I'm great. But as soon as it was time to start partying, he was like, yeah, y'all enjoy the women. I'm gonna go contemplate the next phase of my plan. Like he's not really he doesn't really have any friends. He doesn't really trust anybody. He doesn't let anybody in except for Carmen Ejogo's character, Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I think that Vic and he took Vic to his mama's house, and we didn't talk about the fact that he tells everybody his mom's dead.
Yeah.
He told Sophia his mom's dead. And so the prevailing thing, and then we see that he got to take a train and switch cars to go see his mom, and so he's trying to keep his mom protected and off the map and off the playing board because he knows that's a vulnerability for him. But Vic knows that his mom is alive, and so to me, that's why I feel like how he deals with Vic is very genuine, and it's probably a weak spot for him that somebody will exploit down the road. This mom is gonna get in trouble. The reason she's so protected, she's about to be threatened, and the information might come from Vic. But so that I think the Vic's I think is genuine. I think their relationship is genuine. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see. The HBO show will make you think you know what's going on, and then all of a sudden you watching The Sopranos and the little boy in the shower is stepping on the pile of poop. And so I just,
you never know.
You never know. You never know. I thought Jon Snow was gonna sit on the Iron Throne, so you never know.
Oh Lord. I was about to bring up a House of Dragons. Y'all was talking about the
I was thinking that too. Exactly.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Man, no, but I guess the one thing I want to ask is how do you all feel about and we're only 3 episodes in, so we don't know for sure. But I want to see what you guys' thoughts are on how this show is going to set up things for the next Batman film. In the sense of like they have said, Matt Reeves has said that the Penguin show is like the connective tissue between Batman 1 and Batman 2. And I think that, some things are going to be set up, some things are going to be introduced, but to what degree? Is it just going to be that when Batman 2 starts, Oz is the kingpin of Gotham and this show just shows how he got there? Or is it going to be like, oh, in Batman 2, the villain is Mr. Freeze or Poison Ivy or somebody else, and we saw them kind of start their machinations in the Penguin? Like, how deep or how involved do you think this show is in the setup and plot of the next Batman film, as we, with just these 3 episodes to go off of? Oh, my bad. Bad host. I gotta say who I'm talking to. D, what you think? What you think?
Well, I'll say this. Hopefully it's not a situation, although some people may feel differently, but hopefully it's not a situation like WandaVision and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, where it is almost completely reliant on you having seen WandaVision. If you go from, I couldn't even imagine. I can't even think of what the last film was. But
you would have to go to Endgame to
you go from Endgame, and then you go to Doctor Strange. You're gonna be like, so how did we get here? So hopefully,
when did she have children?
Right, exactly. So I hope it's one of those situations, and I don't know. Something tells me it won't necessarily be that way, but hopefully it will be something where we do see. I don't know, like this smaller progression. I'm hoping it's not a situation, and I guess it depends on like what the scope of this series is going to be. Like, I'm assuming it's not just going to be one season, and then like what? Yeah, so I'm there are other like things in play that I'm curious about, but I'm thinking that when we come down to it, I kind of see it more in the sense of what you said about it possibly like teasing a new potential big bad in the second Batman film. And I guess the thing is, the reason why it's hard to lock it down on one specific thing is because there's so many different directions they could go, especially with the groundwork they're laying now. I personally, I said it on the last stream, but I'm here for Poison Ivy. I have been since I was very, very young. I'd be interested to see how they would make that work in this more grounded world. But yeah, I'd be here for that. But I don't want, me personally, and like I said, depending on how far they decided to go with this series. I don't necessarily want to see Oz as the Kingpin quite yet. I still want to see more of the journey getting there, and maybe some obstacles in the way, and then see if this character then ties back into some other massive conflict that happens along with Batman and some of the other characters we see in the second film.
Okay, I feel that. I'm curious if we do see a Poison Ivy in this universe. They at this point, this universe is so grounded. I don't know that you could call her Poison Ivy. Like, you could just have to be, Dr. Pamela Isley is an eco-terrorist, because I could see her like dropping, some spores on the city, or holding the city hostage with Bliss, and making people do what she wants to do. I could see a version of that. But I don't see you in a floral leaf corset with green fishnets. That's not in this universe, sadly. but see, how do you think this show will set up or weave into the next Batman film?
Like Dee said, I'm hoping for Poison Ivy, even though I don't feel like they would like. Well, the media in general likes to sensationalize criminals in a way, so I feel like they probably would label her as Poison Ivy, kind of like how they labeled the Riddler as the Riddler when they were reporting on his crimes. So a more grounded version of Poison Ivy, I would love to see, and I feel like they're setting up something with these mushrooms. I don't know what it is. But I feel as if it won't be for the Penguin being the big bad of the movie release, because I don't quote me on this, but I feel as if they mentioned that this was kind of like a mini series or some sorts. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they said it was a limited series. I think.
Yeah. So, and with that being said, now that we're getting to getting on a first name basis with the Penguin, Oz, right? I don't feel like he could be our big bad, because we kind of like him to a certain extent now. It's like, do I want to see Robert Pattinson beat his ass in the movies like that? No, I don't want that for him. So I'm hoping that it's a setup for another character. It's hard to say for sure, because we're only 3 episodes in, and I feel like with these series being 8 episodes, maybe 10 if you're lucky, you kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it by maybe episode 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping. I don't feel like they're setting up the Penguin to be our big bad. If that was the question, no, I don't feel like that.
Yeah, no, and I don't think Penguin would be the big bad of now. I think that the next movie will just have Penguin. I think will play a factor, just like he did the first movie. I think he'll play a part, but I don't think honestly, I don't think we really ever need him to be up against Batman as a main villain in the movie. I don't know that we necessarily need that. He could just be a foil or an obstacle to get information or something like that. And to Dee's point about, hopefully this show isn't as dependent on Batman 2 as Multiverse of Madness is on WandaVision. I would hope they don't do that. Hopefully, I'm thinking that it's more like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where in the sense of if you don't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, well, the last time you saw Sam Wilson, he got the shield. And in Captain America 4, he's got the shield and he's Captain America. Now, if you want to watch the show to see the ups and downs he went through to get there, then cool. But if you just watch the movies, then you get it. So I'm thinking that this movie will be that. In the last movie, we saw Penguin as not the boss. In this movie, he's more of a boss. I feel like that'll be the thing. And then whoever the big bad is we just might see okay, they got their setup or their infrastructure already set up in the Batman 2, and maybe in this in the series we just see how that it was set up, but it won't be necessarily essential viewing.
Do you guys feel that they are potentially setting up Sophia to be the big bad in any way, or no?
I don't think it'll be a gangster person. I don't think that the Batman movies, well, even though Batman has a lot of gangster villains, but Two-Face and Black Mask and the Falcones and the Marone, they have a lot of gangster villains. I don't think that they would pick one of those to be the main. I just don't think they're, like you said, sensationalized. I don't think they're sensational enough to be on a movie poster and to get people to the theater. Especially you just got the Riddler. and you tease the Joker. I feel like it would need to be somebody of that caliber to be the main villain. Now you might have a lot of times with movies, you have like a smaller villain, like with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Scarecrow was in all three of them. You know what I'm saying? And so you could have like a smaller villain to go up to in those movies. But I don't think Sophia will be a big bad. What about you? Do you think so?
Yeah, no, I think she'll, especially because I can already tell she's obviously a very popular part of this series, and I think I can see them having the character feature unless they do something that is absolutely unnecessary, in my opinion. But I think they can definitely make a way for her because, like I said, this is Gotham is an entire universe in and of itself. So there is definitely a way to still continue this whole situation with the Falcones and the Maronis and all of that. So I think they're going to find a way to have her feature, but she won't necessarily be the big bad, but she will be another player in the situation. And obviously her influence at that point will be something more significant, obviously, than it is now. And then what that means for Oz's own journey to power will be interesting. So
yeah, hopefully, I think they said they canceled that Gotham PD show that they were planning to do, which would have been just like a more gritty Gotham. So I wasn't that mad about it. But I think they said they have some more spinoffs that they want to make in this world. So maybe Sophia will be like yeah, like more of an antagonist in another section of the Batman universe, and just not in the movies. She might be in the background of the movies, like Batman might walk into the mansion like, I gotta get the hangman, but we gotta deal with this right now and talk about the big bad. And we might hear him reference it or something. I think that I got a lot of theories. I got a lot of questions about theories going forward in the sense of like, what are we going to do about are we going to see the mayor or who from the movies are we going to see in the show? Because if you think about in the Batman, when we watched the movie, the former mayor who the Riddler killed was very entrenched in the Falcones and the Maronis and the crime. They were very all interconnected. And so this mayor is supposed to be better than that. Supposed to be, a good person in Gotham. But as the great and powerful and the best Batman said, Ben Affleck, how long does a good person stay good in Gotham?
The audacity.
I tried to slide that one in there.
I don't feel like we see her in this season. Maybe because I don't know. I don't know how they would fit her in. If she does show up, I would enjoy that because I love seeing the Black actresses getting some more work. Amen. But I don't know if she'll make an appearance. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like I don't know. Somebody not gonna press up on her, try to bribe her, try to corrupt her, and she gotta. To me, that would be interesting. And to me, either the mayor, and I guess that's a good question to ask, is who, if anybody, from the movie would you think would show up in the show? Because I think it's pretty obvious we're not gonna see Batman. Mm-hmm. But I think like maybe the mayor or maybe Jeffrey Wright's Commissioner Gordon. Somebody, if that's you might even get a random ham-fisted Alfred just thrown in there for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody's in the hospital bed next to Alfred. I don't know. But who do you think from the movie might show up in this series?
If I had to guess, right? I don't know if we'll see Alfred or not, even though I would love to see Alfred.
Yeah.
But if we see Alfred, I feel like, well, why are we not seeing Bruce? If we seen Alfred, we got to see Bruce, right? But maybe, and this is like a deep cut. I don't even know this person's name, but he has several scenes in the movie. So I feel like he may make an appearance. It was that one cop on the force. He was the one stopping Robert Pattinson from trying to get into the crime scene. He was the one later when they apprehended the Penguin. He was up in the spot. I feel like he may make an appearance. Why not? I could see him in there. But I feel like a lot of them, died in the movie.
Yeah, it's not a lot to choose from, honestly.
Yeah. I don't think what's her name is coming, Catwoman, because she already left Gotham, right? She's all Catwoman.
Did she leave?
Didn't she hop on her motorcycle and dip at the end of the movie?
I don't. Yeah, no, and that's another thing because we all talked about how we rewatched the movie.
Yeah.
But I think it almost works to, and I'm not advocating doing this because this is a lot. But every episode, I feel like I need to go back and rewatch the movie. Like I feel like I could almost rewatch the movie before every single episode and get something new from it because I did rewatch the movie before episode 1 and I don't remember how we left Zoe Kravitz. I don't remember.
She went to go to.
She went to the island with Channing Tatum. That's what it was.
Oh my god!
All right. No. Who can we see?
But D, do you got any ideas of who we might see or who you might want to see?
Honestly, and I can't remember it was something I saw on this last episode, and it was someone who was sitting. I couldn't tell you who. I had to go back and see, but basically it was someone who was sitting down that had glasses on. I was like, can we see Gordon at just very briefly? Gordon is really who I wanted to see the most, because I'm like, this still ties into what without getting too into main character Batman, dynamics. I'm like, I feel like Gordon is still a part of this world, even without those bigger ties. So I was like, I'll be satisfied if we can at least get Gordon. I'd be happy with that.
They said Jeffrey Wright busy. He is
right. He's gonna cause some bag. I don't know. But I would like to change my answer. I would like to change
okay.
Because now, being that we have a flashback coming up in episode 4, and we know what's his name, Carmine Falcone, he's a little, dirty bird. He was out with the ladies of the nights, right? I feel like if we don't see her, we may get a mention of Kyle, or the mother, Sophia Kyle's mother, Catwoman's because she's still his biological daughter. And he had a whole situation with her mom. I feel like it could be, if not the actress or not, an actual person cast as her, we're going to get mention of her in the flashback, because maybe that's why Sophia part of the reason why she hates her dad so much. She mentions that she danced on his grave when he died. So there's clearly some issues there, and it could stem from his infidelity with her mother or something.
And that's a good point. And we think, and I didn't even think about the connection that Zoe Kravitz and Sophia Falcone are half sisters. Yeah, so that's it. I mean, she still, that doesn't change the fact that she's still not showing up. But that's an interesting connection. I think they would have interesting chemistry together too. To be in a scene together. But to get a flashback of the mother and to see the mother's dynamic with Carmine, I think would be interesting. And Tyra struggle reviews TV. She did say Jeffrey Wright and they have close ties to HBO. Yeah, Jeffrey Wright stayed getting the HBO check. Stay getting the HBO check. I will still, because what was that show? It was such a good show.
Westworld.
Westworld. Yes, because Westworld had some of the best first 2 seasons ever put on television, and then the show ended. That's what we're gonna say. The show ended after season 2. So yeah, I feel like if Jeffrey Wright got a call from HBO, he'd be like, all right. Let me stop voicing what if for a second to come over here and talk to y'all. But the episode 3. So episode 3 ends with the heartfelt scene between Oz and Sophia, and then all of a sudden, whenever HBO gives us a heartfelt scene, they have to give us trouble, death, and destruction immediately after. And so we get the Maronis. They pop up, and Salvatore Maroni's wife pops out, and they are not happy with Oz, and they say Oz tried to get over on them. And I'm assuming it's connected to that conversation Oz had in the beginning of the episode when he took the call from Sal, and we didn't hear what the conversation entailed. And so, I'm assuming Oz probably promised them something that he is not planning on delivering, or they found out something, or whatever. But what did you think about that scene? What did you think that was all about? What do you think Oz did? And what did you and Vic coming to save the day? Vic coming to save the day. And so what did you think about Oz? What did you think he did to piss off the Maronis? And how did you feel about Vic deciding to stay in the game? Because that was essentially what he did. He was like, I'm staying in the game. I'm not, there's gonna be more women than Gabriella, so I'm just gonna stay in the game. How did you feel about that, D? How did that scene how did you respond to that scene?
I mean, it shook me. Not even just because not just because the Persian mob suddenly rolled up on them out of nowhere, but I also was kind of was like, oh, is this are you finally caught? You know, this whole thing has been about, I mean, a big part of the story, or at least one of the more enjoyable parts for me, is seeing Oz finagle his way out of these situations and these scenarios, and how he's able to kind of, stay, stay out of the spotlight, so to speak, and not risking exposure. But now they know something's up with him, and that was obviously said in front of Sophia, and she knows that now. So I don't know. I guess that was the main thing that jumped out at me. And my thing, and then I guess so him leaving Sophia to quote unquote die, which we know ain't happening, but it's just like you finally established this some measure of, it's not trust, but it's at least tolerance, if nothing else, given how Sophia is. And so I'm like, this is obviously a huge setback. So for me, I just thought that was shocking, because it's like just as quickly as we feel like he's made his way in, like he's figured it all out, everything is kind of blown up in his face. And now, Vic is having to take his first little step down, what do they say in Dreamgirls? Step into the bad side. Yeah, I think that's what it's given. It's like all it takes is one. All it takes is one. You got one body on your hands. I'm like, how many more will there be? So that's the main thing I thought about. It's just kind of like, yeah, you did it for a good reason, but that's how it starts with reason, and then it continues from there. So that's the main thing I thought about watching that. Just like the fact that, how do you then fix this? And then how will this then change Vic's view on all this? Because we already know he couldn't bring himself to go off with his girlfriend. So yeah, so this is kind of the beginning of the transition, I feel.
And you're right. And I just want to say that I'm petty, because I was like, how many times is Oz's car gonna get messed up? This Maserati has been through it, because we never talk about the fact that the Batman is a week or two away from this show starting, and that's the same Maserati that he flipped in the Batman. That's what he was driving when the Batman chased him, and he flipped that car. And then episode 1 is brand spanking new, and now Victim crashed it again. It's expensive to fix Maserati. But see, how did this ending affect you with Oz and the Maronis pulling up on them, like you said, the Persian mafia, and then Vic coming to save the day and deciding to descend into the Gotham underworld of his own free will? How did you feel about that?
So yeah, Dee pointed out that this is Vic's first body, and I'm like, facts. I didn't even think about that. That he's definitely, he's in it, right? And actually, the song that was playing, it was so poignant. It was like, me and the devil, like he's in there with the devil, right? He's down, right? And the fact that there's I don't know how the Penguin's about to talk his way out of this one, child, because Sophia's a naturally suspicious person. If she see old girl pull up talking about, we've been watching you, you can't betray us, or whatever it is that she said, it's curtains. It's curtains. So the only thing he can hope for is that A, she dead, which isn't going to happen, or B, She got knocked out so bad she lost her memory. Who knows what's
TV love doing that, don't they? They love making somebody lose their memory.
Right, it's going to have to be one of the two. And that's why we get this flashback episode. So we won't find out until episode 5, which is like very on brand, because I'm telling you, these 8-episode series, they like to give you the real tea by episode 5. So I don't even know how he about to weasel his way out, child. Who knows? Because the macaronis, he already on their, their shit list, right? So he can't even play both sides at this point. Especially given that their guy was taken out in episode 2. He was supposed to bring him back, and he was the one who, stabbed him up. So I have no idea. I can't wait till episode 5. I can't wait till episode 4 to find out more about Sophia, because I'm very intrigued. But I can't wait to episode 5 till we get back on the timeline, the 616, and figure out what's really going on.
Facts. For somebody who got a really the most dramatic limp I've ever seen, he quick on his feet. Penguin being quick on his feet is one of the best things about this show, is watching him maneuver in and out of these circumstances. And yeah, I don't know how he's gonna talk his way out of this one.
But before we wrap this, I'm not sure how long we're going to be on, but I wanted to mention this because I thought about it when I rewatched the episode tonight, or both episodes. When there was that really impactful scene where the Penguin, he was talking to Vic earlier in the episode in the bathroom, and he was telling him, like, look, this is just America, right? You don't want to be a nothing, pretty much like your father. And in episode 2, we kind of see how that was echoed. That wasn't really, he learned that lesson from his mother. His mother is the one who was telling him, I don't want to be if you're a nothing, I'm a nothing. So I thought it was interesting that we kind of see that that's how he grew up to believe that if you don't get this, you're a nothing, right? And he already has this limp, this situation with his body. He already has his whole disfigurement, even with his face. So it's like he already feels like a nothing. And he's going to do whatever it takes to not be that, right? And he's trying to instill that into Vic. And I thought it was interesting just to tie it back to how he learned that from his mom.
Yeah,
interesting.
And there are,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a really good and poignant theme that you see throughout the show, especially in this episode. And I think I did like how that echoed. And I thought that this whole show is kind of a lesson or an examination of survivor's remorse, because Sophia and Vic are all dealing with a version of survivor's remorse, and they're all carrying like the weight of family members that have passed, and it manifests in different ways depending on the person. And so I think that that to me is what makes these characters so engaging, is to see not just to see what they do and how crazy what they do is, but the motivations for what they do and the reasons why they do it are very interesting. And then when with the two collide, because Oz is holding all of his brother's baggage because his brothers died, and Sophia's carrying her brother and her mother on her back, and then Vic's carrying his whole family on his back. And when they all collide, it's just a mix of angst, anxiety, and insecurities. It is very interesting. And I got one more game before we wrap up, and we'll do one more game, and then we'll do last thoughts. But the last game is I don't have a slide for it. Nope, didn't have a slide for it. Didn't turn my assignment in before the deadline. But it's basically another projection, prediction, or theory. Because like we said in the beginning, like Dee said when we talked about the therapist, sometimes to maintain the surprise of a show, you have to you have to be slick with how you name characters and how you introduce characters. And we know that his name is Victor Aguilar, but is that his real name? Is that who he's going to be? Because Victor Aguilar is not from the comics, and maybe he's just an original character and he's going to stay like that, or maybe he's going to develop into a different character. So I got 3 Victors from DC Comics, and you got to pick which Vic is this Vic. And so the first Victor, and I wish I had visuals, but I don't. So I'm sorry. You got to use our imaginations. But the first Victor is Victor Zsasz. Victor Zsasz is a Gotham villain who is a frequent visitor of Arkham Asylum, and he is a serial killer who likes to use knives and cut people up, and he's very intense. He's one of the more gruesome people that Batman deals with. And if you look at the origin of this Victor, it's kind of similar to how Victor Zsasz grew up and how his origin started. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but it is a little similar. So is he Victor Zsasz, or is he another Gotham Victor, Victor Freeze? He could be Victor Freeze. That's one is a little bit more of a stretch because Victor Freeze is a scientist. He's a cryogenicist, and he is, but everything he does is for his wife. Everything he does is for love. All of his motivations for villainy is for love, and so the heart could be connected to this Victor. Maybe he could grow up to be a version of Victor Freeze later down the road, or is he a Victor that's not from Gotham, Victor Stone, which is Cyborg. Victor Stone was the son of a scientist, so obviously that would have to change. But he gets into an accident, and he now has a cybernetic body, and he joins the Teen Titans in the Justice League, and he's a hero. So let me know what if he's any Victor. Which Victor do you think he might turn out to be, or is he just going to be Victor Aguilar, Penguin's Mob Robin? What do you think, D?
Oof. See, the thing is, I was just talking about McCutcheon his first body. So, but that doesn't mean I want him to have a future as a serial killer. So that's just, I mean, I understand we're talking about things being dark and grim, and this universe is that, but that's a lot. So, but then like the other two, like, because I'm trying to think like what. I hate to admit it, and I'm very reluctant in saying this. I just feel like the likelihood is higher with the first. I don't want it to be the first, but I feel like the likelihood is higher than with the other two because I feel like that would be a greater reach. But hopefully, he's just Victor Aguilar, and we can just mold the character how we want because that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would. I'm hoping he's just Victor Aguilar and he could just be a great character all on its own. But you know, comic book properties got a comic book, got an Easter egg, so you never know. See, what do you think? Do you think he's just Victor Aguilar, or do you think he's one of these three Victors?
So I had to look up the images because I was like, who the heck is Victor's ass? So I got a little women. That's Victor's ass, y'all.
Yeah.
And then we got Victor Freeze. We all know who Victor Freeze is, Mr. Freeze, right? We know who Victor Freeze is, but I'll pull up a little image for the folks just in case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get Cyborg. Everyone know who Cyborg is?
Yeah.
I feel like Cyborg is the least likely because if they bring in Cyborg, they have to bring in Teen Titans, and I don't feel like year 2 of the Batman is yet ready for his Robin and going to that whole story. So I feel like Cyborg is the least likely. Second, I don't know much about Victor Zsasz, but I feel like that's the second least likely. Only because when I looked him up, I see that he was already previously in a live action Batman. And I feel like Matt Reeves is trying to kind of divert from any like recently used villains outside of the Joker, which was teased at the end. And I don't even feel like Matt Reeves wanted him. I feel like that was forced upon him.
Yeah, the studio did that. He was
exactly. The studio did that for sure, in my opinion. So given the kind of devotion he almost seems to have to Graciela, whatever her name is, Graciana, that maybe it could be a Mr. Freeze type situation, possibly. But I feel as if he's just an original character, just to give them that freedom to write him as they want. So I'm going to lean on to him being the original character. But if I had to pick one, I guess it would be Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, it would probably be the most beneficial to make him just the original character, because if he turns out to be any character from the comics, you're going to make somebody mad because it's not exactly what it was in the comics. So it would just probably make more sense to make him an original character. I would like him. See, I'm a person who likes when they take a big leap with the character. Because if I want to read the original one, I'll just go read the comics, or I'll go watch an older movie or something like that. I can watch Arnold Schwarzenegger be Mr. Freeze. But I think if you could find a way to inventively make him Mr. Freeze, because that would be such a leap and such a departure from what we know from the character, I think that would be cool to see if you could do it. But like you all said, I think that he's probably an original character, and I think, and if he is Victor Zsasz, I think you showing the descent to him going that far to being that depraved you would need more than these 8 episodes. You would need more. You would need a season 2, and then you need time to show that and make it believable. So he's probably just Victor Aguilar. I just thought that was a fun game. So before we get out of here, what is your anticipations? D, I'm gonna start with you. What are you thinking or anticipating in not just in the next episode, but for the season? When we get to the season finale of Penguin, and the credits roll, and we get no more until Batman 2. What are you hoping to feel? What are you hoping to get from this show as like a journey or a conclusion or a destination? What are you looking for? What are you expecting?
I would say just a greater, I would say maybe a greater understanding of, and this is obviously a smaller piece, but maybe a greater understanding of some of these factions that make Gotham tick the way it does, and then what other factions it might tie into. Yes, we have the Maronis, and yes, we have the Falcones, but I'm like, but they ain't the only ones around here. We just saw the triad in this last episode, and we saw all these other things going on. So I think for me, I would say just walking away from it, obviously getting a greater understanding of the Penguin. I feel like we've already gotten that in Oz. I feel like we've gotten that already. But I also want to know like what it will suggest about who else or what else is out there lying in wait in Gotham. Outside, which I use this term loosely, but outside of, Batman's sight. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things are going on. He can't just be there to to just stop all these things from happening. So for me, I would say just more so appreciating this particular aspect of the story as it pertains to the underworld, and just seeing like how we develop it from that standpoint. I mean, obviously I also want to see like how Victor is shaped. I don't want to see that, but I do want to see it at the same time. But yeah, I think just for me, just knowing, because the thing is like there's always a bigger fish. And even if there's not, you can unintentionally cause there to be a bigger fish or create a bigger fish, if you will. So I think I'm just more so interested, for me, walking away from it, seeing like what it will have to say about Gotham. And like I said, this particular aspect of that world, because there's going to be, there's going to be, of course, ramifications from whatever it is we do see. It's not going to just end with, and that's the thing about it also. Power is unwieldy and fragile. And even when you feel like you got a good grip on it, there's always someone else coming up to get a better grip on it. So,
see what about you?
For me, I'm a simple woman with simple desires and simple needs. I want to know who dies. I want to know. It has to be somebody, right? And I feel as if I'm a little worried for Vic, because often in these shows, like the heart of the show, he, like Dee mentioned, he's the heart of the show, and oftentimes they don't make it, right? They don't make it to the very end. But at the same time, I would love to see like a little cameo of him in the second movie, right? I would like pop for that, like, oh snap, Vic is in here. But it could also be, I hate to say it, but it could also be Sophia, because now that she knows that the Penguin is involved with the macaronis, I keep messing up their name. I'm gonna call them the macaronis. I don't see how. It's got to be one or the other. It's either got to be Penguin lives or Sophia lives. And the Penguin ain't going out off of a miniseries. He's too big of a Batman villain to be taken out in this way. So it will have to be her. But so I want to know who dies. That's pretty much who survives by the end of this. That's what I'm curious about. And like you mentioned earlier in the show here, I would like to know, who are they setting up for the Batman 2? Who's gonna who's our villain going to be? What storyline is potentially going to play into the Batman 2? That's what would be what I'm most interested to find out.
No, yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you in the sense that I feel like, because this show's kind of about the rise of Penguin, I don't think this show is going to end with Penguin not being somewhat on top. I feel like he's going to accomplish what he wants and be like the head of his own gang. I don't know if he'll be necessarily the head of the Falcones, but he'll have maybe like his own faction. And I don't think he can attain that with Sophia around. But I think it would be kind of poetic if Sophia doesn't die. If somehow, some way, the show ends with like Penguin doing something to get her sent back to Arkham, I think that would be a crazy thing. And then the next time we see her, she'll be actually insane. Like, she'll be genuinely insane, because she'll be just so filled with rage and hatred that she's gonna come out with like a executioner's mask on with the rope around her neck. She'll like be the actual hangman. But I want to see, the one thing that I want to see with this show is this is kind of a dream. I don't think this is actually going to happen, but this is, if my nerd dreams could manifest, then I would start to see like echoes of something larger pulling the strings. So like the idea of like there's something going on that's keeping the chaos in Gotham. Like Gotham, because even in the Batman, he talks about he's been doing this for 2 years, but crime is up, and violent crime is up, and theft is up, and all this type of stuff. And I would like it to be like there's some shadow force that's causing Gotham to stay in chaos because it's good for them. Just plant those seeds in this show, and then in Batman 2, so maybe in Batman 3, we can get something like the Court of Owls. And then we realize, yeah, so we can realize that everything, and it's like that one James Bond movie that I really like. He was like, everything you've done has led you here. Like that would be for them to be able to like play the long game and set those dominoes up here. For that would be amazing to me. I don't think they're going to do it, but I would love to see it.
Me too. Side note, did any of you guys watch Gotham Knights on the CW?
Excuse me?
They had this whole Court of Owls like storyline. And I was like, okay, this is y'all don't hate on the CW now. It's corny, but it gives
I love the CW has some great shows. Because I'm a Smallville Supernatural fanatic. They have some. I love the originals. They love a show to make the adults and the parents the villain. They know the demographic, but some of the other shows, horrible. Some shows I'll be like, how did this get on air? Like Gotham Knights.
Oh damn. Okay. I was here for a little bit.
How are you gonna give me a show about the sidekicks and none of them are sidekicks? Why would you even name these characters? These and Batman's son doesn't know that his dad is Batman.
Yeah.
Then you are then I don't want to see you on an adventure, because you're not smart enough to figure anything out. If you don't know the clock that you pass by every day is a tunnel to the Batcave, then you're not worthy.
I was here for a little bit. It got canceled, so clearly people wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, to get canceled on the CW is after one season is to tell you something. The CW will renew. The Supergirl shouldn't have lasted as long as it did, and so but no, it's cool. But maybe they'll get, now that everything's on HBO and everything got a little bit of a budget, maybe we'll get a different version of something like that with a little bit with some writers who graduated.
All right.
But that's all I got. Anybody else have anything they want to say or anything they want to mention or anything else about this show? What you guys got?
None.
So, cool. Well, I appreciate you.
I'm just excited to see more.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate you guys coming out. I tell everybody watching what you got coming up and where they can come see you. Oh man, hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm clicking stuff I shouldn't be clicking. D, let's start with you. What you got coming up in this world of YouTube?
Yes. Hey everyone, this is D Movie Man, fellow cinephile, popcorn addict, and emerging film critic, coming to you with reliable recaps, reviews, and reactions. That is the crux of what I do over on my channel. That is the general tagline. If you haven't heard it, well, now you have, and you can feel free to check out my channel where I discuss all things film. I love reacting to the occasional trailer. I like delving into a series here and there, much like the one we're watching and discussing right now. I have recently I've been catching up on the trailer reactions lately. I reacted to I believe it's the teaser for Marvel's Thunderbolts, as well as the teaser for Ryan Coogler's Sinners. I'm excited for both. I also knocked out some reviews for Exhibiting Forgiveness, did an out-of-theater reaction and then a full-length review for Joker Folie à Deux. Yeah. I had thoughts on that. So, that's all I'm going to say. I also gave my thoughts on Your Monster, which will be coming out later this month. And as far as this week, I had the chance to see Saturday Night, We Live in Time, and something else. I can remember. Yes, I had the opportunity to see. Oh, and then I'll also be doing So I'll be doing a review on Saturday Night, We Live in Time, and then Wolves. I'll be knocking those 3 reviews out and circling back to give my brief commentary on the first 3 episodes of The Penguin. Thank you so much. Support. I appreciate it.
You got it. See, what you got coming up?
All right. So, I'm a simple woman with simple needs and desires. You can join me on my channel. I See the Superior. We do Agatha All Along after show every week, immediately after the show. So you can join me next Wednesday for that. Also, I do book reviews with my friends once a month. This month, we will be reviewing On Earth, We're Briefly, On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous. So we're talking about that tomorrow, actually, if you want to join us. And and coming up after Agatha, because we had to choose Agatha or the Superman show. So we talked about Superman and Lois a little while ago, but we're going to be bringing it back immediately after Agatha wraps. So if you're interested in CW shows, because I will rep to death my CW shows, join me on my channel, See the Superior.
Sounds good. And as critical as I am of CW shows, Superman and Lois is almost an HBO show. It's very good. And Superman being my favorite superhero, I will champion anything that got that crest on it. So thank you. And and if you on my channel, just know that I'm back here, Penguin, next week, and next week we'll do this a little earlier, so we don't cross it to the next day in our discussion. We'll do a little bit earlier. But every week I'm dropping a Let's Talk About It video, and that's just where I talk about something that's going to start a debate. It's like a hot topic. The most recent video is I talked about how Scarlet Witch is the villain the whole time. She was never not a villain. And then this next video is going to be how, on brand for the Penguin, is going to be how Batman is bad for Gotham. And so come and check that out and come back here next week so we can talk about the Penguin again. Thank you, D. Thank you, C, for showing up this late hour and talking the Penguin with me. And thanks everybody in the chat for being engaging and watching us this late hour. And we will catch you guys next time.
Are we still here? Are we still here?
Are we? Listen. Since we are, I was going to say this really quickly. Yeah, Dom was getting chewed up in those comments. I was just like, oh, chewed up.